Hello again and welcome to this, the second Cognautics video covering the flow of information. I've already discussed the different sources of information as well as their characteristics. I'll now explain the different types of data that are available to a business, and I'll look at the reasons why companies need data and how they might need a particular data type for a given purpose. I'll finish by identifying the advantages and disadvantages of a particular data source and data types to enable you to form a model for making your own judgments. Armed with the knowledge of where information comes from and the types of information that are available, let's look at key data types. There are 4 different types of data: primary, secondary, quantitative and qualitative. Let's go through these one by one to understand where they come from, the purpose they serve, and their advantages and disadvantages for each type. Primary data is data collected by the company itself. Now, we've already established that this is internal data. The advantage of primary data is that it's accurate, or at least it should be, because it's been collected by the company itself. So the data collection process should be understood clearly. Internal company data should be relevant, it should fit the need for which it was collected. However, primary data may be limited in its scope and therefore limited in its usefulness in solving problems that lie outside the company, because obviously internal data is inwardly focused. The other issue with primary data collected by a company is that it's usually expensive to collect and may also be time consuming. One of the examples we cited earlier, so profit and loss accounts, are a good example of primary data. Let's go on to the second data type, secondary data. This relates to external data which is collected outside the company. Unlike primary data, the advantage of secondary data is that it's outwardly focused, it's ready-made and likely to be less costly than primary data. It's worth adding a caveat here when I blithely describe data as being more or less expensive. It's going to depend on the individual situation, so it's a generalization, but I think it's reasonable to give you a rule of thumb which helps you to understand the topic as a whole. The difficulty with using secondary data is that it may lack relevance and it may not fit the use case. Equally, if the data is not collected by the company itself, then the data collection method won't be fully understood, which means the accuracy of the data may be called into question. An example of secondary data: census data collected by the government, although in this instance it may well be accurate, but it may not be a good fit for the use case for the company. Qualitative data can be described as descriptive data, or data which relates to words rather than numbers. If you were to carry out a questionnaire, for example, on 10,000 people, that would produce qualitative data. While it might be possible to code this data into numerical data, fundamentally you're still generally dealing with opinions. The advantage of qualitative data is that it's less costly to produce, because the data can be collected using electronic means such as emails. Qualitative data can give a really high level of detail, as people may be able to give detailed opinions, and it's also got the bonus of setting the results in context. The problem with qualitative data is that it can be hard to code. What does that mean? Let's take the example of when you're being asked to give your opinion on a product or service, and the researcher may choose a Likert scale where you grade your opinion from 1 to 5, 1 being excellent and 5 being terrible. The difficulty is it's not the same as measuring temperatures, because the steps between the different opinions can't truly ever be equal. Therefore, representing them as numbers may not give you the full picture. The difficulty with qualitative data doesn't stop there. Opinions tend to give you a detailed view, but this can lead to an overly micro view which obscures the larger picture. Finally, this data type relies heavily on interpretation, which can lead to assumptions or biases interfering with the accuracy of the results. Case studies are an example of qualitative data, along with questionnaires. Let's look at the last data type now: quantitative data. This data type is similar to qualitative data in that it's descriptive, but rather than being comprised of words, quantitative data is comprised of numbers instead. Both data types could be primary or secondary in nature, but the advantage of quantitative data is that it may be considered accurate as long as the information was gathered appropriately. Accurate data is unambiguous and specific, and both these characteristics are important when making planning decisions, managing risk, or spotting market trends. The disadvantage with this data type lie in the lack of context and hinge on whether the right variable was being measured in the first place. Sales figures are a good example of quantitative data. You may have noticed that primary data types usually come from internal information sources, while secondary data types come from external sources. Quantitative and qualitative data may be primary or secondary and may come from internal or external sources. You should by now have a really good understanding of the sorts of reasons that companies may have for collecting data in the first place. We've also covered where that data may come from and the sort of data that could be collected. Finally, you should have a clearer picture on the advantages and disadvantages of each data type. When you're answering these longer essay-style questions, you're going to need to keep in mind why companies collect data, where they get the data from, the sorts of data they might collect, and the pros and cons of each data type. I'd recommend creating a table consisting of these 4 elements to make sure that you're totally prepared for these sorts of questions. I hope you've enjoyed this video. Please hit the like button, subscribe, and don't forget to hit that bell if you want to be the first to see new content. Bye bye.